What even is Japanese whiskey? What's up, interwebs? I'm Connor, and this is Sorta Somme, the show about drinking alcohol and exploring it inside and out. Today, we're doing a little bit more about that exploring it inside and out part, because today we're talking about Japanese whiskey and answering the question, what is it? So now, Japanese whiskey for a long time was a lawless wasteland where you could do whatever you wanted, and now a few Japanese distillers have come up with a rule, a list of rules, a pact, a bond of honor, in order to make things a little bit less sketchy. Technically, a lot of the whiskey that's on the market labeled as Japanese whiskey may or may not actually be from Japan. According to their lack of rules, Japanese whiskey can be sourced from other countries and labeled as Japanese whiskey. So Beam Suntory could label their Jim Beam as Japanese whiskey? I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying they could, which is, if you're going to have an American bourbon, that's not exactly Japanese whiskey. So Japan kind of ran into difficulties producing whiskey fast enough, because over the past few years it's gotten ridiculous. People want to drink whiskey. That's what you people want. You want to drink whiskey, especially from foreign countries that you've never been to and that you hope to go to one day to eat all their wonderful food. All of it. So that high demand and inability to keep up with the production kind of led to this dishonesty, where now we're telling people, oh, it's Japanese whiskey because we're a Japanese company, but this whiskey isn't from Japan, but we're not going to tell you that. And that's it's just a little messed up. If it says it's from Japan, it should be from Japan. So distillers have recently come together and defined what Japanese whiskey is, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So this ruling is within association members. So if you're a part of this group, you have agreed to do these following things. That's not exactly legally binding, but this is something that they are trying to advocate and hopefully push this towards real laws. So malted grains must be used in the process. That's thing number one. And the water has to come from Japan. All the mashing and distilling must be done in Japan. So no more sourcing from random places and saying, oh, hey, look, we got Japanese whiskey. You can't do that anymore. They're going with the 3-year rule, same thing that Scotland has for Scotch. So it's got to be aged in Japan for 3 years for it to be a Japanese whiskey. And then it also, then you also have to bottle it at least 40% alcohol. Because that's what whiskey is. If it's below 40% alcohol, I'm sorry, it's not technically whiskey. It may be whiskey based, but it's not technically whiskey. That goes for Japanese whiskey and every other whiskey, every other country. If it's not at least 40%, it's not technically whiskey. I'm sorry. They are going against the use of coloring, so no E40, no making it look super dark, so that you can hold up with the market. The whiskey is what the whiskey is. The coloring doesn't really have too much to do with the flavor, but it is, dishonest in a way. It makes you think that, like, it's picking up more of the barrel than it is. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with coloring, but it's just not necessary, and I think it makes for a more honest product when it doesn't have color. So any whiskey that doesn't meet these standards is not allowed to use any symbolism, any names, or the Japanese flag, or say that it's Japanese whiskey. It can't project to the consumer in any way that, like, this is Japanese whiskey, because it's not. So you're not allowed to make people think that. These rules are really about being honest and transparent, and not misleading people. Which would be nice if most companies, not just for whiskey, but for everything, would stop misleading and lying to people about, what they are, just so that they could, enslave people. I don't know. That's just a thought. So some issues with this. Japan makes rice whiskey, and with these regulations, it kind of messes with being able to call rice whiskey. And I don't really know too much about rice whiskey, and maybe we'll do some research on it. If you guys like this, maybe we'll do an episode of what even is rice whiskey. But for now, I don't know too much on the subject, just that it doesn't technically use malted grains from what I saw, so it doesn't meet that definition. But it is a traditional Japanese drink, and a lot of people find a lot of problems with that. And I can understand why. Maybe they can leave the malted grains part out when they are officially making the law, or maybe they can create a subsection of whiskey and say that rice whiskey has to have certain standards in order to be called the rice whiskey. I don't know. So this process has already begun, and all of those distillers who have agreed to do this are going to change any labeling that needs to be changed by 2024. And the process has begun. It's underway. They're all making their moves. You might see some of your favorite Japanese whiskey bottles changing, but not all of them. Unfortunately, we still do need to be weary of what is and isn't Japanese whiskey, because Japan has not made laws regarding it. We just have this, group of distillers who have agreed upon these rules. From what I've read, it does make it seem like there is a decent amount of people who are on the topic, or rather, they care about this. There's a good amount of people in this coalition of distillers, and we should see at least a small change, but hopefully we will get a larger change, and we will have a more transparent industry in regards to whiskey, or Japanese whiskey. If you're making a product, it's best to be honest about it. Be forward, because at the end of the day, if you make something that tastes good, then it tastes good. But if you lie about it, I don't know, nobody wants to be associated with a liar. It's just not, it's not good. That guy's lying all the time. I don't want to be associated with the liar. I'm gonna see my way out. So I'll see my way out of this video. And if you guys liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you have ideas, thoughts on Japanese whiskey regulations, leave a comment below. And subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Do all the YouTube things to help me out, because I need a lot of help to get out of here. Alright. Bye-bye.